Tell me, darling, could we run away? We could hide away by the cactus desert blue. I can see it just a mile away from this crowded place. I could lay there next to you.
Friends, welcome back to our channel, Best Freaking Friends Forever. Thank you guys for tuning in again and joining us. So today we're going to talk about Pretty in Pink. So before I give you the box office stats, we have another question for you. What was Ducky's real name? Or what was his name? So, box office wise, it was released on February 28th of 1986. The budget was $9 million. Opening weekend, it made about $6 million. So that with inflation is $15 million. In the US and worldwide, it grossed $40 million, which with inflation today would be $97 million. So not too bad.
Oh, pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, did better than what the others we've done before.
Yep.
Pretty in Pink. I liked it. I liked it better than, I feel like I'm like the minority in this situation. I liked it better than 16 Candles. It was weird for me. It was like a nostalgic feel for me at times. There was just something about it. It brought back a lot of memories that I had with like dating back in my youth. So there were just a lot of things that I don't know what it was about it, but yeah, I think that's why I liked it mostly, was because it gave me like a fuzzy warm feeling inside.
I mean, I didn't hate it. It wasn't, I definitely liked 16 Candles much better than.
I love John Cryer in this.
Well, and we talked about that yesterday. Like, I feel like I did not like him in 2.5 Men, but I love him in this one. Like, I feel like he is so good. And it's almost like another one of those things where you can't picture anybody else being him or like being Ducky.
Yeah.
I mean, he is. He's so good.
Yeah, they asked what's his name to be it, and he said no, it was just too much like 16 Candles for him. The Rave Ups are the band playing in the club scene. Molly Ringwald was apparently a fan of their music, and her sister had a child with one of the band members. Also in 16 Candles, the Rave Ups is scrawled on the notebook Sam, which is Molly Ringwald, is carrying while walking down a corridor after study hall.
Mm-hmm.
So they owe some of that to Molly for getting their name out there.
Well, she did a lot. Like I guess the filmmakers wanted Blaine to be a hunky, square-jawed jock, but Molly wasn't attracted to that sort of guy. Ringwald had some say in the casting, and after Andrew McCarthy auditioned, she told John Hughes and Howard Deutsch her thoughts on him, and that's the kind of guy I would fall in love with. They thought this was a twerpy guy and weren't interested, but Ringwald pushed for his casting. So she did. She had a lot to say. Which
Pretty in Pink star Molly Ringwald tells Out magazine that Ducky, the flamboyant best friend of her character Andy in John Hughes' 1986 high school classic about class and social stature in high school, was secretly gay. Though an alternate ending of the classic Brat Pack comedy in which Andy ended up with Ducky, played by John Cryer, rather than Blaine, was filmed, test audience responded to it negatively. Ducky doesn't know he's gay. Ringwald tells the publication, "I think he loves Andy in the way that my gay best friend always loved me. That ending fell so flat. It bombed at all the screenings. I didn't realize then. I just knew that my character shouldn't end up with him because he didn't have that sort of chemistry. If John was here now, I could talk to him. I think that he would complimentally acknowledge that." Ringwald also believes that Pretty in Pink screenwriter John Hughes, who died in 2009, wrote a lot of gay characters into his other movies, like Some Kind of Wonderful and The Breakfast Club. Still, she specifies, it was something that we never talked about, before continuing that she said characters easily could have been gay, rather than being out and proud in the context of the films. So yeah, I think if you go, we won't go into depth with it, but I think if you go back through John Hughes movies, there is at least one character that's a little flamboyant.
Yeah. Or you can definitely tell they're not as I mean, because I'm trying to think about Breakfast Club and which one. I mean, we talked about it, but I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if he did do that, which ones and why he chose that particular one.
I'm sure Molly knows.
Mm-hmm. I feel like she had like I don't know. I feel like until they had their falling out, so to speak. I mean, I don't know if it could be considered a falling out. I just know he wanted her for one movie and she didn't want to do it. And I think he didn't cast her again. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I'd say they had a close, I mean, honestly, her, Anthony Michael Hall, like we talked about in the last movie, I just feel like they were like the dream team back then, like back in the late 80s. I mean, anything they all three touched, just, I feel like it turned to gold. I mean, if you look, or, you know what I mean? Or it became a classic or, you know, a cult classic, I should say.
Yeah. And he made these movies where it's liked by all. It's not like just for girls or just for guys or just for a certain crowd. I'd say my favorite character in this movie is Ducky. I love him, and he's just so passionate. And it's like when I could like feel his emotions at times. Like whenever he was, you know, kind of like when she didn't give him the time of day and she went with the other guy. You know, I could feel like him, like when he was sitting in his room alone and stuff, you could just tell like it was just so sad. And like when he would talk to her dad about marrying her.
Oh, yeah.
You could tell it. I think for him, because I do think he was the gay character that wasn't out and proud type of thing. And I think for him, he just, you know, you're a kid and you see things differently. And like, he just wanted he wanted a way to bond him and her together forever. And so in his head, it was marriage. When in reality, they could, like you and I, just be like, I want you in my life forever. And I don't have to marry you for you to be in my life forever.
Right. But I thought it was interesting because they asked Molly Ringwald which one of her, well, at first they thought this was Molly's favorite one of all of her films. And then it says fact check. Actually, she said they were all like her babies, meaning all the movies. It would be impossible to choose one over the other. If she had to choose as the best, it would be Breakfast Club because the script was the strongest. She has said at other points that she enjoyed Pretty in Pink the most because it was fun acting out a prom experience, which she never got to do in high school. I mean, I'm sure every actor has their favorite one that they've all done. I mean, I feel like you do have to be careful how you word it because obviously, you know. But there's people that have come on, or there's actors that have said that movie was not good. Like it was, I wish I wouldn't have done it, or you know, it would have turned out differently. I mean, they all have those movies, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think sometimes, you know, it might not necessarily be their favorite because it was a strong film, but it could be like with her, it could be your favorite just because she got to do a prom scene. Like sometimes people get an experience just by being in a movie, and that might be why it's their favorite. My favorite part of this movie is the Ducky dance.
Yeah.
I love that. It was so cute. Lona. Yeah, her character was funny because it was kind of funny to see a parallel relationship because, you know, Molly was trying to still be herself and not change for Blaine. Like her friend, we kind of get to see her change for that guy. But I don't know if it was because she changed for him, but I think it's that what I took from it was she changed because she could see herself being that type of person, like being a wife and taking care of a home. Like I think it wasn't a change necessarily for him, but for herself because she could see herself in that role.
And I just think I didn't know she was in this movie, and I thought that was because she's in Designing Women too, isn't she? And just to look at that role and to look at her later, I'm like, whoa, you know.
Yeah.
I like her in this movie too. I think I feel like definitely acts out of what we're used to seeing her.
Andy having to basically babysit her dad and be the parent, like that was really heartbreaking because he couldn't get past his first love basically because she walked out on them. And
I didn't like the scene where her and Blaine go, I don't know, it just bothered me when they went to the party and Blaine sees how uncomfortable she is, or at least I mean I felt like she was, and when they started, I mean his friends were complete jerks to her essentially. I don't know why he didn't just say and walk out. Like I mean, it took him forever to even say, okay, let's go or what, and move on. Like, I just feel like I don't know. He wanted her to change a lot, and I feel like he wasn't doing the same.
Well, like, even whenever, like, they were calling it a night, she was like, I just, like, do you not get it? I don't want you to see my home. Like, I don't want you to take me home. And he's just, even up until then, he's so oblivious to how different their worlds are.
Yep.
He just can't.
How his friends behave.
Well, his friend in the beginning is just butthurt. His name was Steph, right?
Yeah, and that
He got butthurt because she turned him down in the beginning. But she also knew that if she would have went with him, she would have just been another notch on his belt type of deal. She knew that. And he's that type of guy.
Well, and that's what made me so mad that Blaine went along. I mean, it wasn't even, because I know we talked about him not being as nice to her. But it's like, I think it was Steph causing all the issues and Blaine going along with it. So it kind of makes you not like Blaine because Blaine goes along and follows his lead when he shouldn't. And it takes him till the very end of the movie to be like, I like her. I'm going to be, and standing up to Steph. And it made me so mad when they were in the school and he talks really horrible. Steph doesn't say nice things about Claire, or not Claire. Oh my gosh. Andy. And he does nothing about it. And then Ducky like tackles him. I was like, good for you, Ducky, because at least you're standing up for her.
Mm-hmm. He loves her.
And he's being a jerk. Yeah. And at least I was like, you know, a guy that supposedly likes her, that he just told Steph he does, he didn't do anything about it. He just let him walk all over him. And I was like, at least, I was like, yay, Ducky. Like, thank you for doing that, because someone needed to put him in his place.
Well, I try to play devil's advocate. I mean, he basically grew up with Steph. And so I'm sure that's hard to see your friend going down this path of just being a jerk, and you want to go down this other path of being compassionate. And so I'm sure that those are hard ties to sever. And so it did take him some time to grow up. And yeah, I mean, he ended up going to, which was such a sweet moment at the end when she shows up at the prom, and Blaine came alone, and Ducky told her. It was like kind of his way of being like, I'm okay if you go with him. And he was like, you know, he came here alone. Poor Ducky. I wish he would have had somebody. But ultimately, like, I could see them being the friends that are friends forever.
Oh, yeah.
And
I could too.
You know, and be okay together. Oh, I do not like her dress. Even for back then, I think it was ugly.
Well, she even said that. She hated the pink prom dress she had to wear.
Yeah.
Well, just like we talked about earlier, it didn't fit. It wasn't fitted right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it didn't help her. I mean, it didn't give her any shape or anything.
No.
And I feel like, I don't know, it just, they could have done so much better with it. I mean, the movie's called Pretty in Pink, and they chose pink.
Mm-hmm.
And I read, like, redheads don't look good in pink. And not saying anything against her, but they don't. Typically, they do not look good in pink. They look better in, like, greens and colors like that.
Yeah. Well, it
washes them out.
Washes them out. Yeah, it washes them out. It was the collar for me. It wasn't the color.
No,
I thought the color was fine.
It was definitely the shape and just the cut of it. And
well, and I get it, because like she does, you know, they don't have a lot of money. Her dad found that one won a deal for her, and then her friend had given her the other. Heck, I'd have been fine if she'd have wore her friend's dress.
That's what. See, and when I saw it, when the first scene where she shows it to her and she's wearing it, I'm like, oh, okay, that's going to be the dress she's going to end up wearing. That's pretty, you know, or it's, you know, it's cute. And then she takes two and puts them together because her dad bought her one. Even the one her dad bought her was better than what she put together, I feel like.
I actually thought Ducky's was a lot more fun. Even like what he wore to prom, I really liked.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I liked all his, yeah.
Yeah. And they weren't your normal, but I did like his style a lot better.
Me too. I did.
Well, just like her talking about going to prom, she was so excited that she was going to go with him. You know, they had agreed to go and that sort of thing. And then whenever he tells her, oh, I forgot to ask somebody else, and she calls him out on it. She's like, bull, you did not forget that you asked somebody else. You are just ashamed to go with me. And I think that's what started the fight. That happened right before.
Yeah, because Steph was,
when Ducky fought with Steph. Yeah. That broke my heart. watching that scene too.
Well, it's true. I mean, and she knew it, and she, like you said, she called him out on it. And that was the whole frustrating thing for me is, I don't know. But again, it goes back to them wanting to fit in and him not wanting to go against the norm. I think my favorite part is when she goes down to get the Coke and Ducky's kind of talking about how much he wants to tell her he loves her, and then he starts singing, or I don't know. I'm like, oh, like just tell her.
Mm-hmm.
I do kind of like that part.
Yeah.
And the Ducky dance.
Mm-hmm.
It was good.
Yeah. I just love him. So that was Pretty in Pink. Earlier, Shelley asked you what was Ducky's name in the film. So Ducky was his nickname, but what was his actual name? And they do mention it, I think at least once.
Yeah.
And his name is Phil. So that's your answer. Hopefully you left it in the comments for us. But once again, we thank you for watching and subscribing and checking us out and chatting with us down below. And until next time, I am Tiffany. This is my BFFF Shelley. Join us next time, friends, for another great episode.